Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast, the number one show to bring you all things Club America in English, from tactical analysis
Pelota para la banda izquierda.
to player updates. We've got you covered on all the latest news on Las Águilas. Now, let's start the show. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Eagle Eye Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking all things Club America in English and what has felt an eternity since we've talked about Las Águilas del América in regards to the men's side of things. I know the ladies are playing right now their final. It's not looking like the best result, but hey, we wish nothing but the best of luck to AJ, who is unfortunately covering that game for us over on Twitter right now. And today we're going to be talking everything in regards to Liguilla and hopefully the first hurdle into America's 14th title. And joining me to do all of that and much more, it is none other than my beloved co-host, Christian Rosendo. Christian, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I hope everyone's doing well. Chris, I hope you guys are doing well. It's our most favorite time of the year. I'm not talking about the holidays. I'm talking about Liguilla. And this year, once again, we go in as favorites, hoping for a different result than the previous years. I think we got a good shot. But we'll break down how America is and how our opponents are coming into this one. So I think it's very interesting to kind of analyze how they're coming in and their form that they're in right now, right? But it should be a great matchup, and I'm hoping obviously for the best result on Wednesday.
Absolutely. Wednesday is going to be pivotal to kind of kick things off in the right direction. And joining us as well, it is none other than the man himself. No one knows what he looks like to this day, Christian, but I'm sure one day we might get a glimpse of him. But it is none other than Chris Rivera himself. Chris, how are you?
You guys know how I look, okay? Nah, I'm good, man. You know, like always, we're going to talk about the weather, but it's finally cold over here. After so many annoying months of heat, we're finally cold. And with that being said, I feel like I'm getting sick. So it's not really that good of a feeling, but
Chris is like, I can never win.
Exactly. But, you know, I'm excited for Liguilla. Like Christian said, this is the time of the year where everyone gets excited about Liguilla, not the holidays. You know, we're not kids anymore, so it's not like exciting. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for Leon. I'm ready for whoever's ahead of us.
Yeah, and interesting enough, right? We get to go up against the team that lost their first game in the play-in, and now because they lost the game, they had a chance to win another game, and they did. And lo and behold, we get to play against them. It is absolutely the nuttiest thing I have ever seen in what is Liga MX.
I think I saw on Twitter that the original 8 is the 8 that's going into Liguilla.
Yeah, the original 8. There's no reason for that plan.
Basically.
Like, why milk it is what I want to know. Like, what purpose do you get out of it to milk it, you know?
I don't know. Just money. Money talks.
I guess it does, and I guess hopefully they got boatloads of it. But well, let's talk, gentlemen. We haven't spoken in a while on here specifically in regards to America. I think last time we spoke it was the Santos game that we previewed. So it's been a minute. I personally think America ended the tournament pretty strong. I know we had that draw against Tigres, but it felt like that was kind of those games where you're just like, let's just wrap it up. Just kind of want to get home already type of thing. But personally, I mean, you get to 40 points, you break that 40-point threshold, sit top of the table with a vast lead on second place. I mean, ultimately, you kind of think, yeah, pretty solid tournament so far.
Of course. I forgot what game it was where we hopped on here and we were questioning the team, questioning how they were playing, questioning Jardinez's tactics and kind of approach to the game. And I believe we all said that we would give him 1 or 2 more games to really get his act together, or else it would be time to start talking about, to see how to proceed with the rest of the season, right? And lo and behold, I think we're literally right after that podcast, we did not look back. we have been on an absolute tear, an absolute mission to kind of just prove to the whole league that we are the number one favorites to win this whole thing. And those are the things that I love to see and those are the type of comments where I love to be wrong about. I think that he figured it out. I think even Chris was the one that said that you have to give him a little bit of time to kind of really get his style implemented, to get his ideas across to the whole team. And I guess that's all it took was a couple of draws here and there, and the whole media reacting, the fans reacting to kind of get his act together. And lo and behold, we look unstoppable for the majority of the season. And it's games like the Monterrey game, it's games like the Santos game where we had to come back in a back and forth game to really identify who this team really is. And it's something that I think I've seen in past teams. We just look very well versed from defense to all the way up top. It's very hard to find a weak link, and I think it's going to be very hard for anyone to kind of come and beat us, especially over two legs. So I'm extremely confident going into the season, and the way we ended, I think it only makes us that much stronger.
I think to pinpoint exactly when we kind of started having our doubts was probably the draw against Atlas at home.
It was
Was that 1-1? It was
back.
that 1-1.
Too far back in the podcast.
And then at that point we were all just ready to kind of throw the kitchen sink, and which is crazy if you think about it, because then we criticized them even after he beat Necaxa just because of the way we won. It was an ugly game, and we ended up winning that game 3-2. But Necaxa had scored like within the first like 3-4 minutes of that game, and then we had to come back. Yeah, it was the game that you were at. And so I think, Christian, you even said it, you're like, I'm gonna give him until Leon.
Right.
And then we draw against Leon at home.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, things got to turn. And I think that's when he was like, I get it, the fans demand more. He's like, just give me some more time. And literally, he went on a bender from that point on, just absolutely tearing it apart. I mean, win after win after win. With the exception of Toluca, which we all felt that was
we should have won that game.
It was a fairly decent result for us, regardless of the fact that we only got a draw. But the way that we played, the way that things were looking, we thought, okay. And it was like a game. We had an abundance of games leading up to that Toluca game, which I thought we were all like, okay. No one, there was a couple injuries in that game. If I'm not mistaken, Malagon got injured that game against Toluca. So we were just kind of content to walk away with that point. And like, he went on a bender, and you're right, he ended the tournament on a pretty solid form. I mean, it's really crazy. You look at the numbers, Chris, and you finish off as strong as possible with a 7-point difference between Monterrey, which is the second place team. You only lost one game. I mean, best offense, best defense in the league as well.
And the only loss was our week 1. It was when everyone was in Copa Oro, and and it was
the international
first game
stuff
too, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, literally
very impressive, and I guess everyone's kind of was left upset because we didn't break the record right in the last week against Tigres, and everyone believed that we should have been able to. But like he said, all those records mean nothing if you don't become champion.
Of course.
I don't know about you guys, but his press conferences are perfect. Everything you want to hear from a coach. It doesn't sound like he's just here to get paid. It doesn't sound like, oh, I need this, and this to like achieve stuff, because you hear from some coaches like, I need a right winger. These are not the guys that I want, or this goalkeeper doesn't play with his feet, or you always hear coaches complain about something, especially when it's a roster that's not theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, for me, the issue with the team was playing early on was he came in with no preseason, right? And then you see that he wanted, because I remember our right wingers. Sendejas would play in and wouldn't play wide. Leo Suarez would play in, and remember, Leo Suarez was an attacking midfielder when he first came in, right?
Diego Valdez, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like they weren't understanding things, and I feel like once some of these preseason games came in, the players started understanding him, and he started understanding where they came from. And let's also talk about it. Igor came in and impacted that defense a lot. We were getting scored on almost every game, or at least it felt like it. And Igor came in,
right. Yeah.
And Ramon Juarez too. Even though for whatever reason he lost his spot, and I don't agree with it. Maybe we'll touch on that for a bit. But them two just came in, they started playing, and they changed the defense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also because of those type of changes. And I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm going into this Liga super confident, because I think I've passed the Liguillas. You get overly confident, and there's always something. But at the same time, I don't think there's any team superior than us either. I think we need to be level-headed. Like, the team needs to go and just fight. Never think they're better than anyone. Just fight. Treat everyone, the same. And I think that's how we're gonna end up lifting the 14 at the end of the season.
Well, hopefully you're right in that sense, because that would be lovely to be able to cap off the year with a title, and very deservingly so too. And if that does happen, that we'll come back and we'll sit and we'll have a real discussion about Harine, and the impact that you have in such a short span is ridiculous. Again, this is a very talented team. This is a team that has been through a lot of Liga upsets within the past 2 years, right? The core of these players are the same, that have gone through the trials and tribulations of Liguillas in the past. So I think they definitely have a chip on their shoulder, and they want to find a way to get over that hurdle, that hump, which, Chris, we've mentioned it time and time again, is the semifinals. But in order to get there, you need to get through the first step, and that is focusing on the rival that's coming up on Wednesday. And like we said, we can all agree that the season was a good one, but we all agree at the same time that none of that matters at the end of the day if you're not lifting that trophy. So now we look into this Liga and we think, okay, let's showcase why we are the heavy favorites, right? And the numbers can say one thing and table positions can say another, but at the end of the day, lifting that trophy is the most important part. And so I think we got a pretty interesting opponent here. And really, anyone who we were going to get was always going to have a history of complicating us in Liguilla. Whether it was going to be Santos, whether it was going to be Leon. And I think that we can rewrite history in this sense. And if we get past that hurdle of Leon, which I think we're more than capable of doing so, we can finally break these curses, so and so, that we have, or that we feel we have in certain situations against certain teams. And I think this season is a perfect example, because how many times did we say, oh, we're going to the Monterrey Stadium, we're not going to win? We haven't won. Right? In like so many years. And what do? We go out there, we completely wreck them in their own home stadium. Exactly.
Pachuca, right? 4-0. We beat them 4-0.
So it's like these things that are finally going our way, so to say, that I think you put in front of you a Leon, and now you're thinking, okay, time to break another one of these quote unquote curses that we have with these teams in the year, and try to kind of get past that hurdle and look forward. But first things first, like I mentioned, you have to stay level headed. Like Chris mentioned, you have to do the right things. The fundamentals that got you to where you are today need to be much more important in these matches. So, first leg is going to be Wednesday at the Estadio Camp Nou in León, Guanajuato. That game's going to be at, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard, 8 for you, right, Chris?
Yes.
I mean, Christian?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so that game's going to be the early one. And I think the second leg Saturday is going to be at the Azteca at the same time.
Yes.
So 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 Central, 8 Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just in general, for the both of you, quick question. How do you guys feel knowing that we got Leon?
Just right off the bat, obviously, like you said, Leon's one of those teams that kind of always seem to give us problems for whatever reason. It seems like this year, it's no different. It's kind of interesting. Just whoever we were gonna get, they were gonna come in with 2 games under their belt, 2 high intense games. Now they either could work as a pro or as a con. On the con side, it's because you've already played 2 games that are very, very stressing, very over exhausting, right? And you did it in Spain in short days. Now you got to do it again. So that'd be like four intense games in about a week. So that can drain you mentally and physically. So I'm hoping for a little bit of that on Wednesday. But the pro is obviously that you're already in Liguilla mode. Like you came out of the break, you're already in Liguilla mode, you're already up and running, so you're ready for whatever comes at you. Us, on the other hand, we were coming back from a 17-day break or 15-day break, something around those timelines.
Yeah, it was
And
about 3 weeks, almost a month.
we have not seen a competitive match for that long. It served us in the fact that we got back players, but also we haven't had the time to kind of, I guess, get into that playoff mode. And what I'm worried about is us starting off wrong on the wrong foot on Wednesday, and maybe Leon capitalizing in one of these. Because all it takes is 1 or 2 goals in the first leg, and it's you're that most likely can end the series right then and there. So I really hope that we don't come out flat-footed, because we tend to do that a lot. So it's just about kind of getting into the mode as soon as possible and taking advantage whenever we could. Because if we walk away with at least a draw or win in the first leg, I think we should be looking pretty good for the second leg.
I like it. I like it. Chris, your thoughts?
So the first thing that comes into my mind is Leon's last two games, which was in this play-in, right? The way I see it is, it's a very complicated team that has momentum. That's the first thing, right? They have momentum because they played these two games and they're both intense. But at the same time, I'm looking at this Leon team that got scored on five five times, right, in these last two games.
Yeah.
So for me, the way I look at it is, okay, we're also one of the best offenses in the league, and you're getting Diego Valdez back, who is playing in these preseason games. Quiñones, who went with the national team, didn't play that much, but still got some playing time, and Henry as well, who, in my opinion, needed some games in him just because he was out for what, a month and a half around there.
Yeah, he
Malagon
was out
played,
for some change.
Malagon plays too. I know I complain about a lot about the international break and how they always come back injured and stuff. But at the same time, the way I look at it is if they're gonna go, at least get some playing time to keep this momentum. So from that perspective, and I'm just talking about the Mexican players, right? I think Sendejas probably, he doesn't play with the U.S., but he does rest, which I think that's important from that perspective. Cáceres right now with Uruguay is amazing, and I do expect him to start. And then everyone else, I think they needed this rest. I think they needed, because I don't know if you guys pay attention to the social media, but they've been together this whole time. It's not like they left to other countries or partying or with their family. No, they were all concentrating in the same hotel this whole time. And to me, I think that's the right approach. I think what you need is to be around these players. You see like you streaming with Kevin and Igor, and they're watching the game, and they're focusing on what on the things that they got to do to whether it was Leon or San Luis or whoever. So for me, I think this is a game stylistically. If it opens up, it's gonna be good for us. But like Christian said, they can't be the one to hit us first. They can't be the one at home scoring 2 goals, because then we go to the Azteca and it becomes a very sluggish, ugly game. And even though we got the history to do good in those type of games, we also have the history of not doing so great in these type of comeback kids type situation, right? So for me, I think we need to just play very solid, like you said, fundamentals, just be very well balanced, and at home, close it out if you don't close it out at Leon.
I think that was perfectly well put. I couldn't have said it better myself. I agree that there is some very good things that happened in the break. And I'm glad that you mentioned the fact that they were all together. They were all, uh, kind of put together. And I think that was a smart decision to make from the coaching staff, because yeah, you probably weren't gonna get the best friendlies. So I think what America did was smart. They're like, what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of go in like a preseason type of thing, where we're gonna go and we're gonna train in this high altitude. We're gonna get you guys tip top shape. We're gonna do a lot of physical, drills, and make sure that you guys are up to date in the physical department as well. So there's kind of no sense of lacking off or any sense of laziness when they do return back on the pitch. And I think it showcased in that friendly that we had in Coapa. I mean, Yeah, it's 6-2 against. I don't even remember the name of the team. What was it? Salamanca or
Salamanca.
something like that.
Salamanca. Yeah, Salamanca.
Yeah, Salamanca. And it's okay. I mean, really, it's. I remember the times where we would be off. There's this Liguilla break, and we would be playing against Atlante, and we'd be drawing 1-1 or 0-0 against sides that you think you should be washing, out of the water, but that wasn't the case. But this one, it's different, and it's good to see the likes of Diego Valdez back in action. It's good to see that Jardine is trying, implementing things, experimenting. So it definitely will be interesting, and I do want to see how this team kicks off from the get go, because Chris mentioned it as well, and I'll rebuttal it. You need to start off strong, and you cannot be chasing this game. The minute you do so, you're just creating a mountain to climb on. And like Chris mentioned, in recent years, we've always failed when it has to, overcoming that mountain hurdle. So let's hope for a much, much more better game. And Christian, what would your predicting starting 11 be for Wednesday? Because it's going to be an interesting one. I believe we have a full healthy squad with the exception of just Brian Rodriguez. And I kind of forgot he was even playing with us anymore. So
he's still a part of the team, so I feel like I have to include him.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's our due diligence that we need to include him. But yeah, I mean, practically the most healthiest squad we probably have had this whole season with only 2 players out. So I'm curious to hear what your starting 11 would be for Wednesday.
Like you said, it's an interesting one because I think this is the first time we're getting Diego Valdez, Henry Martin, and Julian Quiñones all together in an informed kind of scenario. And I correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think them 3 have played together this season.
No, they have not.
No, Henry was they were about to play in that Leagues Cup game, and Henry got hurt.
And got her right. Okay. Sorry. So this is interesting. Because now you're gonna have to try to fit this. Do you take the chance and play them 3 for the first time ever in a Liguilla game against a Leon team with 2 games under their belt, or you kind of just go with what's been working, or maybe try to drop some? It's gonna be interesting. I think that he'll go this route. He'll probably go Malagon in net. Kevin Alvarez, Igor, Sebastian Cáceres, and Luis Fuentes in the defense. Jonah and Fidalgo with Diego Valdez in the midfield. On the right-hand side, he'll go Zendejas. On the left-hand side, he'll go Cabecita. And then up top, he'll go with Henry Martin.
Quiñones sees the bench.
I don't think Quiñones starts this game. Right.
And I mean, I'm okay with that, but I don't know if a lot of people would be.
I don't think he starts.
I mean, he could be a great impact sub. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you could find a way to balance it out in the second half.
I think that left hand side is where we see the change. Either if he does start, it would be Julian, Henry, and Zendejas, or it would be Cabecita, Henry, and Zendejas.
Yeah, but I feel like Cabecitas has been in a good form. He's been scoring goals.
Good-ish form, yeah.
Yeah, goodish. It's not his best, but it's the only left person that we have on that side. I mean, Quiñones can play there, but I think that he just naturally wants to drift, to the middle and be that second striker in a sense.
I don't think he benches Diego Valdez. I think if he's ready, if he's playing already, he has to be in 100% form, right? So I think he has to start this game. But I also could see that surprise too. Maybe he doesn't think that he's at 100%, and then he starts Henry and Quiñones.
With a 4-4-2 type of thing.
Or just
has he rushed anybody?
Henry?
No.
Has he rushed anybody? Because I know Tano and Solari had a habit of just rushing everybody back.
But is it really Piojo did too? Diego Valdez though? Because it seems like he's back. It seems like he's ready to go.
I think they could have maybe potentially even seen him on the bench against Tigres, but they decided not to.
Right, exactly.
And so I think they've taken a lot of time with Diego Valdez.
Right.
And rightfully so, because I think we can all agree he can be, maybe would be the best player of the tournament for us if he would have stayed fit for the entirety of the season.
Right.
I mean, the man's on form.
About Henry too.
We've never seen him.
You can see that about Henry, and you can see that about Quiñones too. We're being honest,
I don't know about Quiñones, but
Yeah, no, definitely not Quinones. Henry could probably make the debate
Henry,
for.
yeah, you can make that
You can make
argument.
the debate for Henry, but Quinones, no, I don't think
And
so.
it's interesting. I mean, Henry's game has become much more different than what we knew it from last season. From being the top goal scorer to now being kind of the player that they play off of is okay with not being on the score sheet and assists. It finds creative passes, finds creative ways to open up space. I think he's a very, very well-rounded striker,
Right.
which we're gonna definitely need come Wednesday.
Here's an interesting question. You know how they always say it's a good problem to have when you have so many talented players, like for your offense. But in this case, when you know that these two games could potentially be the last two games of your season, if you get it wrong, does it become that much of more of a headache to hope that you don't choose wrong, especially in this first leg? Because what if you do decide to go that Henry Quinones route and leave Diego on the bench, and then let's just say that we lose the first game, and the choice was to kind of put Diego in from the start.
You know what that reminds me of? I don't know if you guys remember the year that Cholos became champion. I think it was
Mhm.
like 2012. Uh, in the semifinals, which is funny because our history in semis, right? We played against Toluca. I don't know if you guys remember this, but they started Montenegro as a false nine because the theory was that he couldn't play next to Chucho,
Mhm.
and he had an amazing first half, and I think we were like close to just like beating Toluca, so they put in Chucho in the second half, and it went like he disappeared off of that,
Right.
and then that was his last season with us. And I bring that up because we don't know what a Henry and a Quinones and a Valdez looks like, you know. So what if you do start them right on paper? It sounds good, and then you play them, and it's like,
Right, and then it just doesn't work
and
out.
there's no chemistry to point it like
But
That's
ultimately, I think that would be the factor why they don't work out is because for that simple reason that they haven't had time to play with each other.
and it really, I guess that's from the good perspective is, well, you have other players that are in the same level of talent, right? Like
Mhm.
I think we do get very disrespectful when we talk about Cabecita because sometimes it's like, oh, Quiñones, well, Cabecita been here and he's been putting up goals as well,
Yeah.
Uh, Diego Valdez has been here. Henry's been here.
Mhm.
Even the right side, we kind of get disrespectful because Sendejas scores. Leo Suarez scores. He assists. Like, we have the depth, and I know I get what you're saying. Like what if you mess up? But I mean, if you don't win, you're always gonna have those arguments, no matter
True.
what, right?
But I
You're
guess
always
it's
gonna
like
have
I guess it's the
what
problem
if.
of you have them for the first time, and the obvious thinking would be why not put them all three together? But it's like they haven't played together. They don't know what it's like to play with each other. And you also have something that's been working without Diego Valdez. So kind of forcing him into the lineup, so to say, could kind of contradict everything that he's kind of playing towards to, just because he wants to satisfy the fan base of playing their top three stars together. But I don't think he goes that route. But then again, I'm not the one in charge, so
I'll say this much: if America is capable of doing and getting the right result in Leon, maybe even a good result, a comfortable result, like I'm not saying like 3-4-0, maybe like a 2 goal margin where you go and you know that you have some wiggle room, then I could definitely see it happen at the Azteca. Diego Valdez, Quinones, and Henry, right? Because you use that game as an example of, okay, I'm going to put you guys out there. I'm going to make you guys work your thing, do your magic, score plenty of goals, and boom, we'll punch our ticket into the next round. But knowing that if and when it doesn't work, then he has the backing of like, okay, I give you guys at least 45 minutes with not much risking. Now we can just kind of level out and take care of the game and ride it through in the second
I
half.
think that we see them together in the first leg, though, in the second half. If it's not already
Now,
by start, I think we see them together in the second half.
now let me ask you guys this because I seen it on Twitter. Someone throughout the idea, and we've seen this formation throughout the season. But what if they do a diamond formation? I know we haven't seen it in a good minute. We've seen the 4-3-3, right? But what if his vision is for this Quinones, Valdez, Henry lineup is a diamond formation where you have Quinones and Henry as your two nines, and Valdez behind them. And instead of having your Sendejas, right, you have your Richard and Fidalgo and Jona in the midfield. What is your guys' reaction to that?
I honestly think that would be a huge mistake because you're going up against a Leon side that's going to be pushing wide spaces, and if you don't have any wingers to cover up those areas, then yeah, you can win the midfield as much as you want, but the minute they start moving wide, you're going to leave gaps and spaces that I don't think were necessarily coped to handle. And as much liberty as you can give Diego Valdez, you can't really do that with your other three midfielders in the diamond formation. So, I mean, I can see Kevin Alvarez going up and down, no problem, but it's Luis Fuentes who I'm worried about. And that I know that they're already thinking that's where we're going to have to exploit America, and giving him all of that space to track and run back and all that stuff. I think that would not be the smartest move to make. Even if it means not starting the trio of Quinones, Henry, and Diego Valdez.
Yeah.
I think at this point you have to be smarter.
Honestly, not that we're talking more and more about it, I feel like maybe starting Diego might be the mistake. It's been working without him so far. Why not just continue until maybe the second half?
But I think it's worked with him even more.
Well, that's true. Yeah, see, but that's the thing I keep coming back to. And that's the thing I kept coming back to when I was trying to make this predicted lineup. Is he arguably, like you said, arguably was our best player before he went down. He was in great form and he was doing amazing. It's just that it's been a month already since he's played, and we've gone out to explore different options. We've gone out to see what works without him, and the game's so crucial. Like they could literally make or break your season. I don't know. It doesn't seem like a good problem to have, but then again, it does, because if it doesn't work out, you can always just switch it at halftime. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I'm definitely gonna look for your reactions when the 11 does come out. And see what happens, or maybe it is a curveball, and maybe that does throw out what Chris is proposing, the three in the midfield with Richard, John, and Fidalgo. That to me would be a shock, but it's Liguilla, right? So I guess anything can happen.
But what if he puts Chava Reyes there? You know, that's where it becomes one of those things, because he has been switching them, and maybe he looks at Chava as, you know, that
I think the only reason we saw more of Chava
just of rotation purposes, no?
Yeah, I think it was only that,
but
and because
that bad, but I don't think it's warranted Liguilla starting spot though, if you ask me.
Yeah, same. I agree
now, what
with
if
you in
you
that
see
sense.
Quinones as the attacking midfielder, which is possible, right? Because, like I said, we don't talk about Cabecita as much. It is possible that he plays behind them, and maybe even more after what Jimmy Lozano said, right? That he views him more as an attacking midfielder. And we already know how this works. If the national team says you're a duck, the club is gonna say quack. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if that were to happen. You know?
Yeah, no, of course. Like I said too, like I wouldn't be surprised also if he decides to just bench Valdez and just play Cabecita with Henry and Sendejas with the Quinones behind Henry. That could also I could see that happening too. I guess it's either or. Either you bench Julian, or you bench Henry or Diego. But I don't think they start together. Come Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't see it either. I don't see it either.
It's gonna be interesting. I mean, regardless of who starts. Yeah, like I think that's what Christian said. In the second half, we might see them all together.
Half, I think we'll see them three together, just not at the start though.
We'll have to wait and see. But regardless of it all, I think go Chris, go.
I was gonna say worst case scenario also, if you force it in the second leg while we're down, you know, because then you're forcing something.
I think at that point you kind of have to.
But it's like you have to, but it's still a question mark. So it becomes one of those, like, you're forcing something that they don't have the chemistry with. Maybe they do, in a sense they do, because it's not like they haven't played with each other, but it hasn't been all three together. So it becomes one of those things where it's like, you force it and doesn't plan out. Well, why you force it? They needed more time, and it's just becomes an ugly situation. So I guess it also becomes, well, how does Cabecita look in the first leg, right? Or how does Sendejas look in the first leg?
This is why.
There's a lot of.
I don't know.
Hopefully, hopefully, a situation where we're just so good that it doesn't even matter who we throw out over there, you know, because it is a headache, and we're not seeing the practices or anything. So, but hopefully all is good.
Mhm.
Well, look at us over here. Woe is us because we don't know which one of our many talented strikers we're gonna put up on the board for Wednesday. I mean, really, it's crazy, but it's the situation that we find ourselves in. But look, regardless of who starts and who's playing out there, what is the secret to making sure that you not ultimately get a favorable result against Leon in Leon? How do you go to their stadium and make sure you walk out with a victory in a sense, Christian?
You just got to play the way you've been playing all season long, and that's no matter where you are, whether it's the Azteca or away from the Azteca. You have to go in there and impose that you are the better team from right off the bat. You do that with just the great possession of the midfield that we have. I think that John and Fidalgo have been amazing all season long. You got to continue that form distributing play, and like you said, though, whether it's Quinones or Diego Valdez, they have to be the ones to come up with the ideas to propose the attacking threats, to make the other team sweat, make them on their heels, not the other way around. I think it starts with just, us controlling the tempo, especially in the first 20-25 minutes. That's where we're going to see what this team's really made of and if they are in playoff mode. If you see Leon all over us in the first 25, I think we have a problem. And we need to wake up like sooner rather than later. But you go in there and you just play like you've been playing all season long. Like nothing is different. It's just that the stakes are a little bit much higher now. But you're the better team from goalie to the last bench player. You're the better team. You just got to go over there and just play like you are the better team.
Agreed. I think you have to stamp that authority and say, you know what? I'm here to win. I'm not here to get a favorable result that could be a draw or something. No, you're here to win it and you're here to impose yourself and you're here to make a statement, not just to Leon, but I think to the rest of the league that, look, there's a reason why we are the favorites. So it should be interesting. Chris, how are we going to stop Leon's amazing goal scorer with this Federico Viña kid? I don't know if you've heard of him.
What do you mean? That's my favorite player. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like trolling aside, Cáceres against him does worry me. I think I don't know, bro. Like I mean, we talk about Cáceres doing better, right? Like I saw a debate on my timeline where people were saying, "Oh, Ramon should start," and they're saying, "Why should he start if Cáceres has more zeros, like more clean sheets than Ramon this season with I think less games. I think I'm not quite sure there was less games, but I don't know. I think you just got to be on him the whole time. I think you got to stop from. I think like you brought it up earlier. I think Luis Fuentes is going to be the weak link in this game, and they're gonna have to help him out because I think you can't let Viñas create. You can't let him win the midfield. You can't win the midfield. They're his midfielders win. You can't let the wingers win. You just have to like be on him. Maybe have Igor on him the whole game. Because it becomes a very ugly situation. Because like I'll give him props. He is very explosive right now. He's playing very good, and not even that. He's assisting. I don't know if you guys saw that pass he had against I think it was Santos or San Luis, but he's very like in form right now. But it shouldn't matter to us. I think we need to lock him down, have someone on him and make sure that no one's able to create some. And if they do, make it uncomfortable. Don't foul him or anything, but make everything uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, look, some of these players know exactly who they're going up against in Federico Viñas. They've played with him, they practice with him, they understand.
He scored on
I
our
mean,
last
yes,
game in the season.
yeah. I mean, he did, but it's a different game, I think, at that point. And again, going back to that situation where America was very flimsy in the defensive side of things aren't really panning out how we wanted them to. And then from day and night, America looked like a way different team after that. So I think that there was stuff that was corrected, and I think that there is stuff that's there's still stuff that we need to progress in, but for the most part, you mentioned it from head to toe. It looks like we've got ourselves a very well-oiled machine here, and it's playing like a well-oiled machine that's gonna get us to the promised land. And so, like I mentioned, the fundamentals is important, and whoever does have the task of making sure that they guard Viñas, that they do it so effectively, but most importantly, cut off his lifeline, which is any and all passes that he can potentially get from either his wingers or the midfield.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you mentioned. And Jonah is going to be crucial, detrimental to this team. Everything that he wins and stops in that midfield is going to be just a lifeline for America.
Mhm.
And whatever we can produce up top is going to be at our own doing. So it will be important to make sure that we stop them in their tracks. And like I mentioned, winning the midfield battle is always going to be key. But knowing how to and when to, attack and push back and fall, it's going to be important. Managing this game is important. So let's absolutely see what happens, and and
And we
and
should also
hopefully,
highlight that they won't have Fidel Ambris because he got a red card, at least from what I'm reading, and they won't
Mhm.
have their center back Romero too. I think he's a center back, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
The
The
one that got
center
kicked
back,
in the head.
yeah,
Mm.
he won't be there either. I think he won't be playing that game, but he might play the second leg.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to take advantage of that. I think that's two key players. And I was looking right now at their schedule, and I forgot completely. They have World Cup of Clubs, coming up. So maybe they might be thinking ahead too because of that. And I think we of whatever it is, maybe they're not, maybe they are, but it's something that we need to take advantage of
Of course,
regardless.
a good way to kind
Tire
of
them out.
yeah,
Tire them
exactly.
out.
Hmm.
I'm not hurt them, but tire them out to the point where they're just like, man, we have so and so games left. Maybe I want to step back a bit. And for us, it's now or never for
We gotta score
us.
that first goal. I think that's
So
gonna
we
be
have
super
we have to
super
take
important.
advantage of that.
it's detrimental to win. Make
That
sure you're on
first
the board
goal
first.
is gonna set us up for a lot of good things. Um, so yeah, we need to get him maybe even potentially in the first half. That would be nice too.
Yeah, first minute. I mean, anything and everything that
First
could be the
minute.
best
All right,
scenario. Like
okay.
everything. No, but yeah, no,
The
really.
kickoff glitch in FIFA. Let's just try to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mentioned. Is managing the game properly and knowing that it's important that you get on the scoreboard first,
Hmm.
frustrate them, tire them out. There's a reason why you went to go train in the el Centro Altitude de Rendimiento, right? Because you guys wanted these players to be in tip top shape.
Yeah,
So go out there, run them down, and hopefully, like you mentioned, that fatigue of playing these, very explosive back to back games
right. And plus,
showcases
make
in the
it even
first leg.
worse now because now you're chasing a lead. That
Yeah,
makes it even more draining. So
yeah, you want them to be the one climbing the mountain, not
of
the other
course,
way around.
of
So,
course.
I mean, we'll see what happens. Again, make sure you guys stay tuned on our social media, Twitter. Make sure you follow us at EY Podcast. We'll bring you guys up to date with everything going on. Initial reactions whenever we do end up getting the starting 11 confirmation. And then, of course, whatever happens there, you move on into the second leg at the Estadio Azteca. I think, regardless of what that result is in the Camp Nou, you try to finish this series in the strongest fashion possible
1000%.
at the Azteca so you don't get lazy for whatever reason. You could be up 6-0 in that first
Like
leg, come
last
into
year,
Azteca, and yeah, but you want to continuously push this team because the minute you get lazy, you think, we're already through into the semifinal, but then that kind of just it backfires.
of
And
course.
so it you just have to finish strong, regardless of what happened in the first leg. Finish strong.
Yep.
So, and I think we're all in agreement of that sense. So,
Hmm.
all right, gentlemen, give me your player to watch for this series, not just game, but this series. Who has to have a big two games for America in this game? In these two games against Leon.
I think we got to look to our goal scorer, number Henry Martin, number 21. Oh my god, I thought we just scored. I'm sorry. I was watching the game and I thought we just scored.
Yeah, no, same. I'm looking
Oh
at it right
damn,
now.
rode over the bar. I'm sorry. No, Henry Martin. Henry Martin has to be the one to get us over this hump. He has to be the one to get us to the 14th. He has to show up. Plain and simple. He has to show up. He hasn't in the past few seasons in Liguilla. Now is the time to do it with everything in your favor. This is the best time to do it, and I'm looking at him to kind of bag one or two in this series and get us to that semifinal.
I like it, Chris.
For this game or for Liguilla?
Series for this series against
Okay,
Leon?
for this series, I have to go Cáceres. I think a lot of people are very iffy about Cáceres starting, and like I said, we already know how good he's doing with Uruguay. But if it doesn't translate to club, then who cares, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are kind of like, you shouldn't start. It should be Ramon Juarez. He's shown matureness, right? He's matured. You just a lot of in this canterano, you see him. Like you're not gonna question him, like fighting for the club. With Cáceres, it's just too much errors in the past, and he's never really shown out. So for me, it has to be Cáceres. I think he needs to go, and he doesn't have to score, but he needs to be the reason why Viñas is non-existent. When we're talking about the whole Liguilla, I do agree with Christian. I think it's Henry Martin, and it's not just him. I think it's Eco. It's everyone. If we're just gonna be obvious, it's everyone. But when it
Yeah.
comes to
Yeah.
your past, right? Your past, it has to be Henry Martin, it has to be Fidalgo. Because we're judging you off your past. We're judging you for not showing up, and we're judging you for making errors, right? So in that sense, those two have to be the best they've ever been, and they have to be the reason why we win this tournament.
And I'm in agreement with you. I think that you named two players that haven't had the best of showcasing with America in the Guias, right? Cáceres has cost us time and time again with his mistakes. Maybe not necessarily in the Guias, but in big high risk games. And Henry has a tendency of, you know,
Not showing
dying
up.
down. Yeah.
Ghost.
Yeah, dying down in a bit. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. My player I think is gonna have to be you know what? I'm gonna go Jonah Dos Santos. Like I mentioned, I mentioned him earlier. I think he's detrimental to this midfield, and that line of defense between him and the midfield is just super crucial, super important, and I need him to continuously just prove all the naysayers that he's getting old, that he doesn't deserve to be in the starting 11. Although he shut them up this season, but continue to do that, and
Is there a captain,
showcase
or is
what he
Henry
is.
Martin the captain?
Henry's the
Like who's
captain.
who's
Henry's the
the
captain. Then it's Diego Valdez. Then
oh?
it's Miguel Ayun, and then it's Jonah.
Because I know he was captain for a couple games,
Yeah,
and now it makes sense. So why? I was
yeah.
gonna say as a captain, then I agree 100%.
But he
But
is he
even
is a
then,
veteran
like,
player. He's a veteran
yeah,
player that I know for a fact will have a voice in that locker room. And
yeah.
so I need him to be as vocal as possible and say, you know what, it is what it is. But all right, gentlemen, give me your prediction for Wednesday's match. What are we going with, Christian?
I think I'm going 2-1 America.
Okay, Chris.
Ah man, I want to say 1-0 for us, but something tells me we're gonna be 1-1. So I'm gonna go with 1-1.
1-1.
First
Okay.
leg, we're gonna go with a tie.
I agree with you, Christian. I see a 2-1 for us.
Mhm.
Which would be very favorable. Not the most ideal result, but still it's manageable. And
Right.
then you go from there. Um
How does it work with the year? Because it seems like they change every single season.
I've seen
So
like
if,
8
if it's
different
drawn
candidates.
in the global afterwards, is it higher position goes through?
higher position goes through. There's no such thing as an away goal anymore.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
we'll see what
Tell
happens
the
in
aunties
that
and they'll say it's because
perspective.
of us.
Yeah. Hey, whatever rules we gotta change, we'll make it work.
Think about it.
Yeah. I just hope that we get a good result come Wednesday, and then we manage it come Saturday. Just
Okay.
for just for shits and giggles, give me your guys' prediction for Saturday's result. I mean, it's impossible to say, and it's possible every year. It's a lot more difficult to kind of predict these things. But if your result stands and you walk into the Estadio come Saturday, what do you think the result is?
3-1 America.
All right, that's a lot of goals, Chris.
I was gonna say 3-0, but yeah, 3-1. I'll go with 3-1. Hey, there's
Wow.
something magical about the Azteca, and if it's not horror for us, it's a very wonderful night for us.
Yes.
So
I'm just
I'm
basing
gonna go
it.
with
I'm
the
just
wonderful
banking
night.
on the trio of Julian, Diego, and Henry just to work automatically and bang 2 goals in. That's what I'm banking off of for that Saturday result. I mean, I hope it happens either way, right? No matter what the result is on Wednesday.
Yeah, hopefully. And my Saturday result will be 4-2.
Wow, that's a lot of goals. You said that was a lot of goals. That's a lot of goals.
Yeah, exactly. That was more.
I had to one up him in this one.
I can take that.
But yeah, I mean, look, it's that time of the year, like you guys mentioned, right? It's nerve wracking season. Maybe not so much right now because I think we all feel that this team is more than capable of getting through into the next round. And then it's once you get past that, then then we'll start seeing what happens. But yeah, we'll just take it one game at a time. That's all you can really do, and
Yes.
we'll see what
One
happens.
half at a time, to be exact. Actually,
1/2 at a time. Yes, exactly. Because
it's 4 halves in this. Let's get through all 4 of them, please.
yeah, and hopefully sound, no injuries, and just everyone on form.
Yes.
So let's like I said, hope for the best and hope that every player is shooting at 1,000% here. So
1,000. Yep.
But all right, gentlemen. I think that's where we'll wrap it up here. Won't drag it out any more longer. See now it is Liguilla. So hopefully you guys are feeling good, feeling confident, feeling ready to go. And Wednesday will be the first of hopefully many more games to come to hopefully end the year with a title in hand and a friendly against Barcelona. So we'll see what happens there. But all right, gentlemen. Anything else to add on before we wrap it up here?
Just for shits and giggles, I'll say what my predictions for the other series. I think that San Luis is gonna beat Monterrey, Tigres will beat Puebla, and Pumas will beat Chivas. After all the series is done, I think those are the 4 that are advancing.
All right, that would be an interesting then semifinal for us. Who would it be? San Luis, right?
It'll be San Luis if it all goes to plan.
Damn, that would be an interesting one. It would really
I
be.
could see it. I could definitely see it.
Same. I mean, we'll see what happens.
The most important one is us.
That's the only one I care about. I don't care about anything else. That's the only one I care about.
Exactly. Well, Compa Lion saying, I'm pumped, bro. Can't wait. Wednesday. Vamos indeed. But all right, then, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk all things Club America. We'll be back next week in hopes of just celebrating and talking even more so to a closer 14. So, you guys have a wonderful night. Take care. It's cold out there. Make sure you wear a sweater. And yeah, pretty much it. All right. Until next time, you guys take care. And as always, Arriba America. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 source for all things Club America in English. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast and get all the latest news and coverage. And subscribe to our